She's back. Well, sort of. At least I think so. Um, so I have gone back and forth whether or not I should revive this podcast. And I couldn't bring myself to just completely nix it, even though it's been quite a few years since I have made any episodes here. It's my first baby and couldn't quite let her go. And I'm glad I didn't, honestly. So here I am, no notes on a Monday, just needing an outlet. And so we're back for a couple of reasons. So, where have I been? Here, there, and everywhere, y'all. In 2021, I was going through it. So, at the beginning of 2022, I decided I'm going to hit the hard reset button on my life. And I did just that. And it has taken all of 3 years to find homeostasis from that decision. And I don't regret that decision. And I'd do it again if I had to. I firmly believe in choosing yourself every time. So, hey, it's what it is, but there are some things that you don't quite know what you're getting yourself into until you are in it, honey. So, with that, a quick little catch up for me. I won't make this episode long at all. Not even going to really do any fancy edits. I think I might have said that. I'm not sure. But I'm coming back to y'all raw and real and me. My blood pressure is a little high today. And my left eye is twitching. And for whatever that may mean, as my watch keeps telling me, hey, you might want to relax, I figured I need an outlet. What better way to do it than to put my voice into the ether? So, in the past 4 years, I think my last episode was in like October of 2021, something like that. I have progressed in my career. Definitely have had some really great opportunities. I may not have been on my own solo podcast, but I ended up on a podcast called the Not Just You podcast with my amazing co-host, Keziah Snipe. Check that out. That's still out there. Also, the Creative Crunch podcast with my near and dear friend, brother Ron, aka Hollow Red. Shout out to you. And, for me, consistency really is a problem. It really is a problem. I recognize that as a weakness that needs some attention. And there's reasons behind it, but it gets to a point where people don't really want to hear your reasons behind things. So I found myself in this space of like not really talking as much as I used to. I used to be like hardcore for, like justice. And I don't even mean justice in like a civil rights sense, right? There's a lot going on in the world. I mean more on like the interpersonal day to day, how we navigate, how we approach one another and different things. And now I've kind of gotten to a place where I don't want to keep fighting for things. I don't want to, I don't know, maybe I'll cut this out. But so as I said, I've progressed in my career a bit. And I launched a tea called Get Well Soon Tea last year. It's been a year. I have a TikTok shop and an Etsy store that's been doing fairly well, considering that I really don't do much with it. But I have plans to expand those stores, as I'm currently having a tea tonight. My current blend I won't keep for the girls is a red raspberry and mint tea. It is that mid time of the month. And the girls who know about going into that time of month and what that brings, this right here helps tremendously. So as I said, I won't gatekeep, but this is my next blend that will be on the store before the holidays. That is my goal. So be on the lookout for that. And I've landed in a good space in life. However, it's not quite the space that I thought that I would be in. And that's been something that has been a space of pause and reflection for me lately, for sure. I have had failed friendships and connections. I've also celebrated some major milestones with loved ones. I have been um, privileged and honored to be included in people's celebrations, and I love that, and that's amazing. And I just, I think this is life. This is adulting. And I tell my 20 somethings, if anybody is 20 something listening to this, don't rush those 20s. Hey, don't rush. Don't rush. I won't say there's nothing here. It does get better, but time is humbling. And there is no, you can plan as much as you want, but even if all things go to plan, it's not going to feel quite what you thought that it would. And I'm in that space of having strived for a long time and landed in a space where it's not over, right? Like the fat lady hasn't sung yet, but it really causes you to go inside and ask yourself, what's going on? What am I doing? And why am I doing this? And what's important to me? And do these things actually matter? What am I doing these things for? And the answers to those questions, if you can answer them, will oftentimes be sobering. So recently, one of my dear loved ones wrote a book. So it is a book and a journal workbook combo called The Dressed Up Pig by Melissa Story. And I wanted to use this as the kind of getting back into the podcast to work through this with my audience, if anybody's listening, or even if somebody catches this years down the line, it's like, oh, what's this? Hey, I want to work through this because it's relevant, and it's called The Dressed Up Pig, Unmasking the Hidden Battles Behind Success. And so I'm not going to start at this episode, but I wanted to use this as a launching pad to get into some reflection and some conversation about what comes up in the book. So when the Frustrated Millennial was born, it was about being a millennial. I was still in my 20s at the time. That's so crazy to say. And being frustrated, just being frustrated with the way that life was going and not necessarily being where I wanted to be, or having what I thought I would have, or, just different thoughts and different feelings, seeing the economy going the way that it was going. And things were different even then, like way different even then than they are now. I've always been one I think it's cool to have a place to vent and to talk, and even complain, even though God don't like all that complaining. But to also hash out some ideas about ways that we can combat the things that we feel, to not just fall into a rut and go, oh, woe is me. Like, I'm good for, oh, woe is me from time to time. But I also think that it's more productive to pair that, oh, woe is me, with a what can we try now? What can we do about this? And even if what we come up with is not successful, we still need to make an attempt to pull out of the ruts that we find ourselves in. And so I attempted to rebrand a couple of years back. And so I just rebranded into myself, right? I am Lauren Nicole, but I do still see relevance in the Frustrated Millennial, as my generation we're getting older and we're dealing more with the consequences of adulthood, right? Like, the older you get, the more friends you lose to, just circumstances growing apart, and or death, and parents, and losing children, and foreclosing on properties, things that we weren't necessarily facing 5 to 10 years ago. These are like the next levels of adulthood. And so it's still quite frustrating to be a millennial. And so it's still relevant. And I'm glad that I'm glad to come back and step back into this space for however long I have the capacity for. I got to tell y'all, my capacity is limited, but I'm going to try to do better. And this is the best space that I can operate in, where I'm not being as perceived as, say, TikTok. So I hope y'all join me for the ride, and we'll see how it goes. So shout out to all the millennials. This is not just for millennials, though. If there are any boomers, Gen Xers that find value in the podcast, please feel free to reach out. Give me some feedback. If it helps you understand the millennials in your life or younger, that's great too. If there's any insight that I can offer to a Gen X, that's great too, or any feedback, or if y'all want to join the conversation, let me know. So you guys can reach out to me at thefmillennial@gmail.com. And yeah, let's see where this takes us.